Malaysia is poised to reopen borders in March. Sarawak reached 3 digits of COVID-19 infections and Ukraine tests anti-tank missiles. Those are the headlines for tonight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Muhammad Yusuf and you're now watching TVS Nightline. Malaysia's borders are set to fully reopen on March 1st without the mandatory quarantine requirement, with a final decision to be decided in Cabinet as the National Recovery Council seek to advise the Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob to completely reopen their border. The Council Chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said, however, it should be done properly based on the risk assessment in accordance with the Ministry of Health MOH recommendations.
Ada perkara yang akan diumumkan nanti tentang peraturan, mungkin kena buat PCR test sebelum masuk dan sebagainya, itu detail lah. Mungkin tak perlu kuarantin, ada detail-detail yang akan diumum. Saya cuma mengumumkan keputusan. Dan ini bagi Majlis Kepuluhan Negara satu keputusan yang amat penting dalam kita nak mengawal wabak Omicron ke COVID ini menular.
He said this after the MPN meeting held on Tuesday in Putrajaya. The reopening of the borders is vital to support the country's recovery process in the economic and tourism sectors and also to attract foreign investments to Malaysia.
Industri airline boleh hidup balik, peniaga-peniaga di kedai-kedai yang bergantung pada pelancong boleh meningkat dan sebagainya. So ini yang kita pentingkan dan sebab itu kita percaya keputusan ini adalah satu keputusan yang amat baik. Tapi dalam keadaan yang sama kita pastikan SOP dipatuhi dan tahap kepatuhan SOP di Malaysia ini agak cukup baik.
Muhyiddin also guaranteed the nation will not impose the Movement Control Order MCO in the future as past experience has made the country ready to manage the pandemic. The Sarawak tourism industry will rise once again once the nation's border reopens. The reopening of the border will indirectly boost the economic revenue of the state as Sarawak has witnessed a huge demand from tourists wanting to visit eco-tourism attractions in the state. However, Chairman of Sarawak Tourism Board STB Dennis Ngau said priority must be given to the safety and well-being of the public before a decision on the border reopening is made.
Kalau pihak kerajaan Malaysia ingin meneruskan pembukaan borders kita kepada international travelers untuk memasuki negara kita, saya yakin keputusan itu dibuat setelah melihat dari berbagai aspek. Jadi saya kalau begitulah keputusan kerajaan, saya bersetuju supaya industri pelancongan negara kita dan negeri kita khususnya akan terus hiduplah maksudnya ya.
Dennis added that as Sarawak has now transitioned into phase 4 of the National Recovery Plan NRP, he is confident that the people of Sarawak is ready to accept tourists.
Like what I said, kita semua sudah bersedia dan saya bukannya menyatakan demi industri pelancongan kita abaikan kesihatan rakyat. No, I'm not saying like that. Kita disebabkan usaha kerajaan dan apa yang telah kita lakukan dan rakyat telah dididikkan bagaimana menjaga diri. Saya percaya kita telah bersedia walaupun ada gelombang Omicron. I think we are quite prepared.
Dennis added that domestic tourism has contributed largely to the sector last year, with a total of 19,310 domestic tourists travelling into Sarawak.
Opening the country's border will attract many foreign tourists at the same time, improving the local economy. Therefore, for the tourism industry players, they are of the opinion that if the government decides to reopen the border, it will be beneficial for them. Even so, they are waiting for such a decision to be made, which once again will live in the sector in Sarawak.
I think it is a good suggestion, or it is a good move for the ministry to suggest, to open up the state's border, because it will eventually increase the amount of tourists coming into Sarawak, and also it will also contribute some economy as well, yeah. And past COVID is very challenging for us. So if we can get more tourists coming into the state, I think it will contribute more revenues to the states and also to the hotels. Of course, if it goes through the shopping malls, definitely we welcome this move, by the state government. We are really welcoming the move on the opening the borders for the states.
Meanwhile, it will also be economically beneficial for the local handicraft entrepreneurs.
Untuk pelancong Brunei, pada saya memang betul-betul memberi impak yang bagus. Kalau pengumuman yang telah diberikan oleh kementerian ini tadi kan, sebab salah satunya dari segi mata wang mereka. So at least bukan dari segi kraftangan saja, hotel-hotel lain pun akan rasa gembira sebab dengan adanya mereka masuk ke kemiri contohnya. Jadi kita orang usahawan yang kraftangan ni pun rasa macam gembira, rasa at least dapat menarik mereka datang.
They also hope that the tourists coming into the country will follow the standard operating procedures SOP to prevent any future spike of COVID-19 infections.
Lebih-lebih lagi macam kita di Miri sini, kita memang mengalu-alukan kedatangan pelancong dari Brunei yang merupakan sebagian besar pengunjung kita di sini sebelum inilah. Pendapatan kita di sini pun memang banyak bergantung kepada pelancong-pelancong ini. Dan selepas COVID itu memang tak ada lah, sebab tak ada walk-in daripada Sabah, Brunei dan Semenanjung.
Acknowledging if the country's border will reopen anytime soon, the public seems skeptical. A survey made by TVS in Kuching receives different opinions from the public. Some of the opinion that strict health screening needs to be imposed on tourists who enters Malaysia to ensure they are free from COVID-19 infections.
Zambia Bujang agrees to the reopening of borders for foreign tourists, but with strict SOP in place.
Macamnya pelancong asing dia nak datang ke Sarawak tu, mesti ikut SOP ke apa kan, peraturan ke. Kita takut benda tu akan merebak balik tu dik macam 2 tahun yang lepas. Jadi kes kita si mau kes tu kan naik lagi. Minta mesti ada sidap pelancong asing yang ada vaksin. Dari negara sidap yang pun mudah ada surat dari sidap dari kerajaan tidak membenarkan pergi, boleh. Si salahnya pergi sebagai sumber pendapatan juga tapi mau ada macam tu kata orang nak yang pun kelengkapan SOP-nya semua ada kita bagus tu kita si tahu apa-apa pun boleh jadi. Kita dah si mau nak kena 2 tahun yang lepas.
However, Shainul Hisham disagrees to the reopening of the border, adding that domestic tourism should be continued at the moment.
Buat masa tu belum setuju lagi lah. Mendapat kita masih still lock dulu lah. Sebab COVID tu bagi pendapat kami di situ lah yang belum lagi kita kawal. Jadi lebih bagus kita tutup dulu dan kawal keadaan agar semakin pulih dan terkawal baru kita buka balik lah untuk pelancongan dalam negara tu. Kita buat macam biasa aja. Untuk luar negara tu, buat masa tu mendapat jangan dibuka dulu lah.
Expressing the same opinion, Sapi'i Afdal is worried as the number of the COVID-19 cases in the country has increased.
Bab nangga kes kini tu pun dah macam dah naik juga dah. Harap benda yang melibatkan kes yang akan meningkat gitu Pak. Harap kerajaan kita lebih memantau lagi dengan situasi pandemik ini tu lah.
On to the next news. 6 Sarawak government agencies have been selected for the MSISO 37001 2016 Anti-Bribery Management System ABMS pilot project starting this year. State Secretary Dato' Amar Jaul Samion announced the 6 government agencies today as the pilot project was aimed at strengthening the transparency of the state government.
The announced 6 agencies involved in the Anti-Bribery Management project are the Sarawak Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts Ministry, Chief Minister's Department, Forest Department, Islamic Religious Department, Sarawak Forestry Corporation SFC, and Regional Corridor Development Authority or RECODA. According to Jaul, the regulations provided are not only to be complied with, but also to curb impropriety such as bribery, abuse of power, malpractice, as well as leakage from occurring. He added, ABMS is an internal control system of an organization to detect, prevent, operate, enforce, evaluate, and improve anti-bribery management effectively. He further said, the anti-bribery actions that this pilot project would take will serve as a baseline and reference for other ministries, departments, and agencies to follow in order to produce higher quality and transparent regulations.
Welcome back. Now, greater involvement by local community in coffee cultivation would spur the socio-economic in Mambong, as the constituency has been declared as the largest coffee production area in Sarawak.
This recent development, its Assemblyman Dato' Jarib Susil assures high-quality yield in future. The emphasis towards agriculture is in line with recent implementation of Post-COVID-19 Development Strategy PCDS 2030.
Ini selaras dengan apa yang telah pun diisytiharkan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Ketua Menteri semalam, that he has declared actually post-COVID economic development plan sampai 2030, di mana kita mempertingkatkan lagi sektor pertanian dan sektor sosioekonomi dalam kampung dan penglibatan orang kampung dari segi bagaimana mereka memikirkan cara-cara untuk meningkatkan lagi ekonomi mereka dalam sekeluarga itu.
He said this at the handing over ceremony of the multi-purpose hall project site at Kampong Petak on Tuesday. On the multi-purpose hall, he said once it's complete, it will provide residents to carry out community service and festivities.
Hari ini kita nambah baik dari segi prasarana yang ada menggunakan apa yang telah pun dikatakan oleh saudara engineer Lau Yik Hung dan seterusnya juga untuk menambahkan lighting dan juga kipas yang kita memerlukan.
Now, the government, through the Ministry of Health (MOH), will ensure the welfare of private workers who have been supporting in government hospitals are taken care of, as they have served the country in combating the COVID-19 pandemic as frontliners.
Dan saya memberi komitmen kepada Puan Roziah dan rakan-rakan bahawa saya akan usahakan supaya kebajikan mereka sebagai frontliners juga yang banyak telah membantu negara kita. Pekerja sokongan di hospital banyak membantu dalam kita menguruskan pandemik COVID-19. Jadi kita jangan pandang ringan kepada perjuangan mereka.
Kyrie was speaking after receiving the memorandum from the National Union of Workers in Support and Allied Services on Tuesday. It was handed over to Kyrie from the union's chairwoman, Roziah Muhammad Hashim, whom also advocated on the allowance to be distributed to all support workers in government hospitals and to also abolish all contract systems for the said workers. To this, Kyrie said the memorandum will be looked into thoroughly. He also disclosed that a conference with the concession companies will be held to understand issues that are brought up by the union. Now, the number of COVID-19 cases in Sarawak today have exceeded the 100 mark again after 2 months of recording below 100 cases, which recorded a total of 129 infections. Sarawak Disaster Management Committee (SDMC), however, stated that all of the cases detected today was of Category 1 and 2, in which there is no symptoms or only showing mild symptoms. The last time Sarawak recorded 3-digit number of COVID-19 cases was on November 28 with 158 cases. Breaking down the number of COVID-19 infections today, SDMC said 54 cases were detected in Kuching, while Cebu recorded 35 cases and Miri 18. Limbang registered 9 cases today, Kapit 4, while Song, Bintulu, Lundu, Meradong and Samarahan each recorded 1 case. This brings the cumulative number of cases in Sarawak to 253,216 cases. Of the 129 cases detected today, 65 were registered as Category 1, where no symptoms were shown, while 64 were in Category 2, showing mild symptoms. SDMC also stated that no deaths were recorded in the state today. On the other hand, Malaysia today recorded 13,944 cases of COVID-19, as the country now has detected infections above the 10,000 mark for 3 consecutive days. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said the latest development brought the cumulative number of COVID-19 cases to 2,939,198 cases. The last time Malaysia recorded more than 13,000 cases was on September 26 last year, with 13,104 cases. On his official Twitter account, Dr. Nur Hisham stated that 99.48% of the total cases today were in Categories 1 and 2, while 0.39% were in Categories 3, 4, and 5. Meanwhile, he said the country's infectivity rate, or RT, was at 1.32, compared with 1.27 yesterday, with Sabah and Perlis recording the highest RT value of 1.54, followed by Sarawak 1.48 and Terengganu 1.36. The Ministry of International Trade and Industry (MITI) has assured that there will be no total lockdown of the economic and industrial sectors if the number of COVID-19 cases were to increase significantly. Senior Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmin Ali said the previous economic sector closures had a significant impact on the economy and, more importantly, on individuals, with 826,000 people losing their employment in the first 3 months of the total lockdown in 2020.
Azmin said the decision was made after taking into account the effects of a total economic lockdown, citing the risk of leaving 5 million Malaysians without any income. He reiterated that although there are concerns on health matter due to the recent surge in COVID-19 cases, the economic health of the country is equally important. That's why it is important to manage the pandemic effectively. He further said MITI will take a targeted approach by closing only the industries affected and focus on getting employees vaccinated. Another approach was the implementation of the COVID-19 Public-Private Partnership, or PICAS, industrial immunization program, as MITI did not want the industries to close. Through PICAS, he explained the ministry managed to vaccinate nearly 2 million people, and the initiatives were taken because the workers in the industrial and manufacturing sectors were at higher risks than other sectors, which could still embrace the work-from-home option.
The Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs KPDNHEP and the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industries MAFI are working hand in hand to realise the best solution to overcome the shortage of eggs, which is rumoured to stretch until Ramadan. Deputy Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Rosol Wahid said it had received complaints regarding insufficient supply of eggs, and initiatives are underway with MAFI to remedy the issue to ensure that no parties are burdened. Rosol stated details regarding the shortage that are being discussed concerns majorly on the price and supply. Elaborating further, he said his ministry hopes to tackle the issue immediately as Ramadan will arrive in just a few months, citing the abundant need for eggs for suppliers and traders of Kueh Raya. He said so at a press conference after opening the Batu Balai 5 petrol station in Jerantut, Pahang today. Yesterday, media reported that the Federation of Livestock Farmers Associations of Malaysia, FLFAM, expected the shortage of eggs in the market to linger until Ramadan, which is allegedly due to the increase in farmers' production costs. According to statistics, Malaysians consume roughly about 30 million chicken eggs every day, or 930 million per month. Apart from that, Rosol stated that from Saturday to yesterday, a total of 2,410 inspections on the maximum price of chicken and chicken eggs were conducted nationally, involving 48 wholesalers and 2,362 retailers. Welcome back to TVS Nightline. Now, as the tension builds up between Ukraine and Russia, the Ukraine army has decided to hold several tactical drills to test its anti-tank weaponry in their southern region, which borders Crimea. Footage released by the forces showed anti-tank missiles being deployed against mock enemy formations.
Як показав досвід антитерористичної операції та операції Об'єднаних сил, танки є основною вагомою силою при наступі. Тож воїни-протитанкісти мають бути завжди готовими для розгортання на відповідному рубежі.
The White House has previously predicted an order to attack Ukraine by Russian President Vladimir Putin within these few days or weeks. On Monday, Putin received a visit from French President Emmanuel Macron at the Kremlin to prevent a war from breaking between Ukraine and Russia.
Je me réjouis d'avoir l'opportunité de pouvoir entrer en profondeur sur tous ces sujets et commencer à bâtir une réponse utile collectivement pour la Russie et pour tout le reste de l'Europe. Et une réponse utile, c'est une réponse qui permet évidemment d'éviter la guerre et de construire des éléments de confiance, de stabilité, de visibilité pour tout le monde.
Putin, on the other hand, said both his country and France shared a common concern regarding the security sphere in Europe.
Я вижу, сколько усилий действующее руководство Франции и лично президент Франции предпринимает для того, чтобы разрешить кризис, связанный с обеспечением равной безопасности в Европе на серьезную историческую перспективу и решение вопросов, которые тесно связаны с первой частью, а именно с разрешением внутриукраинского кризиса на юго-востоке.
For records, Russia has deployed more than 100,000 troops near Ukraine's border and denies any form of invasion, unless several security demands are not met, such as the inclusion of Ukraine into the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO.
Now, the Philippines has launched its vaccination program for children aged 5 to 11 years old in Manila on Monday. To help ease their nerve, the venue was transformed into a circus-themed vaccination center, complete with stilt walkers and puppeteers and volunteers wearing superhero costumes.
Filipino mothers have expressed their relief when the government initiated the vaccination program for children.
At least he can go out already. Well, of course, with certain protocols to be followed, but you know, he's been at home for 2 years. So he needs to go out and meet his friends, his classmates. After ma-complete niya rin dose niya, we can at least somehow feel safe and relaxed na pwede na siya ulit to go back to his normal life.
Very important po sa akin na mapavaccinate na po yung anak ko because makakatulong po yun sa herd immunity ng bansa po natin and mas mapapabilis po na maging endemic yung current nating pandemic.
The government aims to vaccinate over 12 million children, and the vaccination program will move to other parts of the country starting February 14.
And that's all the time we have for tonight's TVS Nightline. I'm Muhammad Yusuf. If you want more news 24 hours, follow our social media at TVSTVMY on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Once again, I'm Muhammad Yusuf. Good night and stay safe.